Live from Miami, Florida, broadcasting around the world. You're listening to Patriots Perspective with Christi Tasker. Your news behind the government's facade. Don't fall victim to propaganda or spend another 30 days in the tech gulag. Turn off your Tell Live vision and just listen. Hear the most mind-opening hours of your life as we interview whistleblowers and real patriots for uncensored truth. The Commie News Network and Fake Book cannot control the power of Jesus Christ. Therefore, they have no power over us. There aren't enough Vegas strippers to fake check what's coming. Put in your earphones and avoid the tech tyrants. Subscribe to patriotsperspective.com now and see the evidence and action items to help you take back your God-given rights, government, and expose Satan and his demons taking up residence in your community. Be sure to hit the like or rumble button and comment to tell us where you're holding the line.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us back here at Patriots Perspective. It looks like we have got a weird situation where I am like square in the middle. Hopefully we can get that fixed throughout the show process. But I am your host, Christi Tasker, the Chief Propagandist Destroyer here. And today we are going to be talking to an amazing man, Joe Lombardi. Joe, welcome to Patriots Perspective.
Thanks for having me.
Because you are the guy that's going to break down the ultimate control that the government has over us, which is our finances. Because we know that they're not only trying to kill us, but they're trying to steal from us, Joe. So I'm hoping that you're going to be able to break down everything and help us save some money here, where to put it. You and I have never spoken before. Matter of fact, we just briefly met right before going live. And I look forward to hearing what your take is on this economy and hearing what we should be doing with our finances.
Well, yeah, thanks for having me. You know, it's I know we just met, but yeah, I've been doing this for a little while, 24 years. So I have over 4,000 clients, over $4 billion protection rollovers, and I've written books, magazines, awards, all that fun stuff. A+ rated, Better Business Bureau, but it's so vitally important. You know, money is talked about most in the Bible. It's one of those things where God could have said anything and talked about any subject, and he chose money as the most talked about subject. So it's kind of important. And most Americans, they don't prioritize their financial health. They actually don't, prioritize their health in general, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, or financially. They're just so overwhelmed with the debt machine that they placed us here. So it's just important to take the power back, and knowledge is power.
Yeah, absolutely. And Joe, I mean, obviously you can tell from our opening, we have a large Christian following and people who actually sometimes convert to Christianity based on hearing what we've got, because the Lord does not intend for us to, number one, he says that our body is our temple, is the temple, and we are the church. We are the people are the church, not a building. And sometimes we're all misled from the money that we bring into our households and what we're supposed to do with it, into thinking, into being misled that we have to give our money to the government, into a system who, really, like, would you go into business with these people? I mean, that's what I say, and as a business consultant, I'm often looking at people's businesses and going, why are you doing this? Like, why aren't you doing this? You're supposed to conserve here. Like, this over here is a, better platform. It's easier for you to, to control. And, they give you backups where this one over here doesn't. And so how does that work with when you are managing finances for people? Can you tell a little bit about, what are some of the things that you recommend that people do first? Let's just say it's the average person who's waking up every day, going to their job, who, is maybe getting a W-2 at the end of the year. What can they do to save and to start to prioritize a little bit differently?
I mean, when it comes to financial health, it's all about building good habits, as it is to any health. You know, the more you pray to God, the closer relationship you'll have to him. The more you count your calories and eat less, the thinner and healthier you'll be. You know, the more you save dollars, the more net worth you're going to have and financial peace you are going to achieve within your life. So it's vitally important to not go into debt. That is by far the number one sin that most Americans do. I mean, the Bible talks about usury and how it's wrong, and but that's the demonic world we're in right now. So you have to understand that when you bring in $1, like, you know, 10 cents should be put towards your future self. And it all stems, you know, to loving yourself. And most people, unfortunately, they don't. They fill these holes in their heart with, you know, spending money to impress people that don't like them. You know, drunk scrolling at Instagram at 1 a.m, buying China-made plastic-colored crap to make themselves feel better for their cat or something. But it's just so vitally important that, you know, every dollar that comes in, you know, you tell your dollar where it goes. You know, case in point, we have people that win the lottery. They win 1 million, they win 200 million. And we have these athletes and these, you know, rappers that blow hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. And it's not that they're, you know, not worth anything. They go bankrupt.
Yeah.
What does that mean? That means they're negative. So imagine getting $200 million and within 5 years, your net worth is negative.
Yep.
So it comes down. Most people think that, oh, I just need to make more money and then I can save. Well, I'll tell you, if you're not saving with the money you're making now, there is no amount of money that's going to make you save. So it's so important to tell your dollars where to go. That's number one.
Yeah. And, you know, and a lot of people look at Joe. One of the things that I see, because I mentor a lot of, I mentor a lot of people in general, you know, at different ages. And I don't want to say kids, but I always a lot of times think of them as my kids. And sometimes they're in different countries. And, you know, they just look up to me. You know, a lot of them have met me in person. And so, you know, they'll follow me on social media. And so they'll reach out and say, well, what should I do here? And what should I do there? And, you know, and many times I'm telling them, you know, hey, if you can get an education for free, that's one thing. But starting out in debt to receive an education can be a really bad thing. That's just my opinion. I am a person who I've taught in colleges, but yet I have never gotten a college degree and I did not go to college. So, you know, I tell people, listen, if you can go to work, no matter where that job may be, you're going to learn something there. And that's going to give you a platform to go up and up and up rather than creating debt from the very beginning. So let's talk a little bit about like your take on the student loan debt that's going on. Like, how do you feel about, because I feel like that's one of the first debts that our American society gets into. But what I've also noticed is like even Filipinos, you know, they'll go to school and there's no way they're ever going to pay back that student loan. So they stay underneath it forever. Whereas some of the Filipinos have gone directly to work online and they've learned as they go from YouTube videos, from just instructions, from following instructions, that they've really been able to build a pretty good life for themselves without any kind of degrees and especially without that debt. So, but at the same time, what I also see is them pushing their children to go to school and to get in debt. So what is your take on the whole entire student loan system? Like, what do you typically advise from a very young age?
So I have 3 children. I have a senior in high school this year, and I have 2 boys and a girl, 17, 14, and 11. And my 17-year-old's not going to college. Now, can I pay for it? Sure, I can pay for it in cash if I really wanted to. So when you understand you're paying to be taught by people who don't do your profession, they say that like those who can't teach, right? Why would I teach finance and make $80,000 a year when I can do finance and make $10 million a year? So when you understand that you are being taught an ideology, which may not be your best interest, it's the best interest for the sheep, And the educational system is very corrupt. The government owns the educational system. The educational system tells you to obey the government, take experimental jabs from the government, and invest with the government.
Yeah.
And that is not the healthiest thing for you. It's the best for the government because the government understands it's easier to control 150 million stupid sheep than smart ones.
That's
So
very true.
the No Kid Left Behind Act, where they teach to the lowest IQ in the class, is not beneficial to helping the other 99% of children grow. And these are the tough conversations. What the government does and what the devil does is, what, when you have to give a dog medicine, you have to wrap it in cheese,
Yeah,
and the dog's like, oh, okay. But if you just give the dog that medicine, it won't eat it, right? So when you look at it, that's how our educational system is. And that's how our government is. They'll come up with a bill called the Patriot Act, and they'll wrap it in this cheese, and it's the most unpatriotic thing you could possibly do as a human being on earth. So they do the same thing with education. They want to take an evil idea like let's murder as many unborn children as we can, and let's put the cheese around it, of its reproductive health care.
Yeah.
And so they do that with everything.
Yeah.
So if you're getting your education from the government, it's going to benefit the government. If you're investing with the government, like 401ks, IRAs, bank accounts, I don't know if you ever heard of the Dodd-Frank Act, 2010, but they can just take all your money. They literally can clear your bank account, clear your 401k, clear your brokerage account.
Let's talk about that, because that's a scary thought that I think a lot of Americans do not know about. So let's talk about the Dodd-Frank Act. So what is that? What does it do? And how do we get around it?
So what it does is, if you were to use Gronk or ChatGPT, it's an act that the government put in place after the 2008 crisis, which gives the government access to steal your money at any point in time for any reason for the betterment of the country. And whatever that means, betterment to who? It's not betterment to me if you steal it from me, but again, cheese and in a dog medicine. So what my clients do is they utilize this IRS code called 7702. Think of like a 401k. That's an IRS code, right? That's all it is. 403b, 457, college savings 529. Those are IRS codes.
Okay.
The wealthy do not indulge in IRS codes that are top, 400, 500. They indulge in 7,702, the one that's buried in the tax code. And what that code basically says is, embedded in a permanent life insurance policy, has to be whole life or IUL or SIUL, and any type of permanent policy, not term. That's death insurance. That's a whole nother lie that we can talk about. But it's embedded in actual life insurance. So you can overfund these plans, and then you can pull the money out. Your money's safe. It's sue-proof. It's divorce-proof in most states. It doesn't exist. The government legally can't know you have it because of HIPAA laws. Remember HIPAA laws with COVID? Mm-hmm. So creditors don't know you have it. Government doesn't know you have it. And when you think about it, where do the multimillionaires put their money? It's not banks. And when you think about it, where do banks put their money? It's not banks. Look up BOLI, bank-owned life insurance. So when you understand that banks that are owned by the government don't invest in themselves, they don't keep their money there, but they tell you to keep your money there. The wealthy people don't put their kids into college, the super wealthy, but they tell us to put their kids in college, our kids in college. So you have to understand, you have to figure out, if you want to be successful in life, what are the ultra rich doing? I don't know if you remember Pelosi about 10 years ago. People were following her. It was called the Guppy strategy. You follow the sharks, and people were making crazy money.
Yeah.
And then, they stopped filing their quarterlies of telling me where they're investing.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that this system is rigged, right? You have to wake up. You have to be able to critically think for yourself, which again is very hard because that's not what we're taught in school. It's not our programming. So you have to reprogram yourself to care about your future self. And unfortunately, you can't care about your future self if you don't care about your present self. And then in order to care about your present self, you have to actually live in God's present. It's a gift right now. Me and Christi are a great gift to be presently here, communicating, trying to help people and teach them what we've learned. But most people, they live in the past. They live in depression, or they live in the future,
or they live
in anxiety.
Yeah.
So it's so vitally important. People think finance has to do with numbers. Finance has everything to do with self-love, determination, habits, and budgeting and caring about you.
Yeah. And the one thing I noticed that people also do is the other myth is the car loan. Okay. So they'll think, I'm just going into the different loans that, so at first they want to sell you an education to brainwash you. And keep in mind, I have zero education, but I educate. So you do not need a brainwashed, bought education. And for people like me, Joe, they've actually come to me and said, oh, we'll get you into Harvard and you'll get a degree in like a year. Well, how's that going to happen? Other people have to go for 4 years. Well, you want to put a label. And I realized, oh gosh, they want to put a label on me. Oh, what am I going to learn at Harvard? I said, what am I going to learn in a year? Well, how to make something out of nothing. Well, I can already do that. And I said, then somebody's going to get screwed, most likely, the way you're trying to do it. Somebody's going to get screwed. And they're like, yeah, that's the way it goes. And it's like, no, I don't want to work that way, because you don't have to work that way. So it is a brainwashing and an indoctrination. And then we move on to the automobile indoctrination, which sometimes the automobile indoctrination comes before the school education, the student loan indoctrination. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I know my daughter was even caught up in that. I taught her, to save her money for a $5,000 car. As a matter of fact, she had a little $5,000 BMW, but and everything on it was fixed. It would have driven, a good 100,000 more miles. But she went to the Kia dealership one day where her friend's mom works, and suddenly, at age 18, traded in her car that was already paid for a Kia. So let's talk about that. What's your take on these things, Joe, and how can they be avoided? Or should she have just stayed in the car? Or is a Kia a great deal, as people are saying? They look at it and say, oh, well, you can get your free oil changes. I don't have to pay for oil changes.
Yeah, it's when you get going any type of debt, really. I mean, now, is there good debt? Absolutely. Low interest rate debt. And when it comes to leveraging, car purchases, what my clients do is they use their bank. So I've written 3 5-star rated books. Number 1 is being your own bank. Number 2 is there's a better way than a 401k. And number 3 is long-term care without long-term pains. They're all on Amazon if you just search up Joseph Lombardi. So when you understand that, to be your own bank, how my clients buy vehicles is they actually save up money with me, then they lean the money out. So they're still earning interest on the money that they buy the car. The loan rate that they pay the insurance company historically is lower. So they're actually making money on the loan, and it's a negative interest rate loan, meaning by buying the car, they're still earning, a revenue or a profit. Similar to someone like Elon Musk's, if he needs $100 million for a SpaceX rocket, he has 2 choices. He could sell, $200 million of Tesla stock, pay $100 million in taxes, net the $100 million, buy the rocket, and lose the $200 million of future growth because he no longer owns the said stock. Well, that's what most Americans do, and it's the dumbest thing. Sorry to be frank. Mm-hmm. It's the dumbest thing that you can do when it comes to building wealth. So what the ultra rich do is they'll take $100 million of Tesla stock, or in this example, Elon Musk, bring it to a bank, get a collateralized assignment. It's a loan. The bank says, I'm going to hold this asset, sort of like a home equity line of credit. I'm going to hold this asset. You still own it, right? If you have a home equity line of credit and the housing market goes up 20%, do you still get the profit of the house? Yeah, you still own it. So you're going to earn more. Like the Tesla stock historically earns more than the interest you pay in the bank. Are loans taxable? Well, no. So he paid $0 in taxes. He paid $0 in net loan interest. He actually made money on it. And he netted the $100 million SpaceX rocket. Well, you can do that same thing with vehicles. But the step number one, which is the hard part, is you actually have to save. And that's having a budget, that's building habits, that's making sure you are putting dollars into your hands of your future self. And it has to do with, do you care enough? And most people don't care about themselves enough to have that plan. It's unfortunately that simple.
And Joe, your books are actually free, so there's like people could just download them on their Kindle. Is that right? Like on
Yeah, and I'll send them to all your listeners for free through PDF. If
that would be great.
They just send an email to learnwithhawk.com and send all my books, articles, magazines, my podcast, Money Talk with Ironhawk.
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah.
And hopefully we're going over some of the things, because I see on your website, you've got all the information for annuities, fixed annuities, growth annuities, income indexed, along with business insurance, and different types, because I want to have you back on to talk specifically about businesses. Today, we're going to talk about personal, to kind of keep the things separated, because I want to have you on another podcast that I'm doing called Design Rock Stars, where I encourage, people to become their own businesses within themselves, if they have any kind of talents whatsoever, and how to manage that. So let's talk a little bit about annuities, like personally, like what can people do with annuities? How are annuities used? Because I know some of the audience may be well versed on annuities, and then others may not have any clue what to do with an annuity.
So annuities historically have had a bad name, manufactured by the government, right? If you put your money in an insurance company, that's the safest place to put your money, because they legally have to put $1 in their general account for every dollar they have. Unlike a bank that can just macro lend, micro lend, fractional lend. You give them 100, they can just loan out $90 of your money. That person gets the $90, whereas he puts in the bank, they loan out $81, loan out $72, $63. So they literally could turn $1 into $10, just fugazi, So what insurance companies do is they can't do that. So I work with a lot of people that are hitting retirement, where they say, Joe, I've accumulated $1 million. I have clients that have $100 million with me. So I accumulated, X amount of money, and I don't know what to do. And that's normal. They don't teach it. So we don't have pensions, right? So what people think is, assets are so important. And it's like, assets are not important. What's important is income.
Yeah.
Income is your quality of life. Income pays your bills, puts roof over your head, pays your electric bill, pays your gas bill, lets you go to the grocery store and buy food and your entertainment and fly to go see your grandchild. Assets don't do that.
Yeah.
So what people do is they accumulate these assets and they go, well, what do I do with them? Well, the safest place to put them is in fixed index annuities, whether it's growth or income. So I do over $100 million a year myself, as well as my national company does more, into fixed index annuities, because A, they can't lose, B, they give you bonuses, C, it's cheaper than what you're paying Fidelity or what you're paying your investment advisor a 1.5. So when you look at it, and when you work with an investment advisor, they tell you prudent man strategy, because I worked in Wall Street. I've been in this business 24 years, securities license for 17. But they tell you that just take 4 or 5%, you'll be fine. You only have a 3% chance of failure. It's like, well, if I'm going to go own an airplane and they said you have a 3% chance of failure, I'm not going on that airplane.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're going to think twice about it.
So when you understand you have these things called 2008, 2001, 2020, 2022, you have these insane volatility in the casino that we call the stable stock market. If And when I'm talking to people in their 70s, 80s, even 60s, they're invested like they're 20 years old. And it's like you need these dollars, but yet, to pay your mortgage or to like buy food.
Yeah.
Social Security isn't covering what your quality of life is. And you're just letting it ride like no seven, no seven. Come on, baby.
Yeah.
So what people need to do is they have to understand that there is ways, believe it or not, where you can take those dollars you saved in a 401k, IRA, SEP simple pension, deferred comp, brokerage account. You can put a wrapper around it that says you can't lose, higher returns than the S&P 500 over the last 25 years historically, lower costs, and they'll give you a bonus. So instead of you paying somebody to join you, like work with you, like, oh, I got to pay this guy. You don't pay me anything. I actually pay you to work with me. And so when you understand that these things are real, they've been around over 180 years, the ultra wealthy use it, and over 500 billion with a B dollars goes into annuities annually. When you understand that, and you understand, well, if the average American isn't putting all this money here, then where's the 500 billion coming from?
Yeah.
The ultra elite. So you have to just copy what rich people do. Copy. If you want to be a winner, copy what a winner does. It's not rocket science. If you want to lose weight, make sure you find somebody who's super fit and ask them, what are you eating? What are you doing? What's your regimen? How often you hit the gym? And just copy them. But people try to make it so complex when it's really not.
And I'll back you with that, Joe. And I know that exactly what you're saying is 100% true, because some of my friends are high wealth managements for the ultra elite at really big banks. And do you know that they will not allow them, the people who are managing the money for the ultra elite, to do the same exact action for themselves that they are doing for the ultra elite? Isn't that wild?
Funny.
They're
Yeah,
not allowed
for
to put
these.
their children's names, their husband's names, or their parents' names. Isn't that wild? That, like, I mean, why wouldn't they? They're the ones doing it because they know they don't want you to do it. They want to do it, but they don't want you to do it. So how do you know? I know the audience is probably looking right now, Joe. How do you know what the ultra elite are doing? How do you pay attention to those specific details and know when to move people's money around, or know how to do what your company does, what Ironhawk Financial does for the average person?
Well, when you've been doing something for 24 years, I've worked in Wall Street. I've worked for all the big players: MetLife, Mass Mutual, Guardian, Penn Mutual, Northwestern Mutual. So I've been in their training. I've been in Manhattan, worked out. I live in Connecticut, but I used to work in New York. And when you understand what they do, and I've been in the rooms with estate planning attorneys, billionaires, literal billionaires, doing estate planning and legacy planning, tax planning, retirement planning, and you find out, like, wait, why is this guy buying so much life insurance? Like, life insurance is if you die, and it's like, that's death insurance. So when you understand your programming is so bad in so many things. I mean, healthcare, poison, food they give us poison. We can go on and on and on. We can go down all these rabbit holes. But when you understand that financially, at least that's something you have a lot more control over. I think that's why God, put money in the Bible as the number one thing, because financial peace gives you power. I have the power to eat cleaner. I have the power to have more time to get to the gym. I have the power to do podcasts, and get out there and tell the world, please do better. There's people that care about you. God is real. I've seen him. And when you understand that your time is your most valuable asset, people think money is. I can always trade my time for money, but I can never trade my money for my time, meaning I can't buy time. So when you understand everything that's going on, what is your perfect week? What is your habits? What are you doing when God gives you $1? What are you doing to grow spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially every day? That's a very loaded but important question to have. And say, for my health, I'm going to walk. I'm going to stop eating, fast food, and because I'm sick of eating humans. So when you understand that, like, you have power, you have God's blood in you. You're a child of Christ. And when you understand that and you actually take it seriously, you can move mountains. Things that you're stuck on right now, even has nothing to do with finance. Things you're stuck on right now can be overcame, like addictions, like bad relationships with family members and friends and coworkers, and there's things that can mend and heal. And having less conflict, having less distraction. I mean, God, we are just distracted all the time about every little thing. So when you take that out of your life and you sit down and you map out, as I would, how does Joe Lombardi get better tomorrow than he is today? And how do I get better today than I was yesterday? And that comes down to habits. And is it easy? Hell no, it's not easy.
No.
It's not easy to reprogram our nervous system. Our nervous system is our best friend and our worst enemy, because we can't change a lot of the stuff that we developed. We can't get rid of childhood triggers and traumas that we had nothing to do with, that we didn't ask for. We didn't ask for to get our butt beat when we were young or bullied, or so you have to work through your childhood trauma, right? And what the heck does that have to do with money? It literally is everything to do with money. And people just look at money as this isolated puzzle piece, but all the wealthy people I know, they're not 450 pounds. They're not lazy laying in bed every day. They're not out there stealing and doing drugs. They haven't been in jail. So there is a level of foundation that most people need. And they look at the roof of the mansion and they say, wow, imagine. It's like, well, you got to start at the bottom and you got to build. You need a financial foundation. You need a budget. You need to get out of debt. You need to save money in smart areas. You need to build your own bank so that you can save not only money on taxes, because it's all tax free, not only protect yourself from market losses because you can't lose, but imagine saving yourself hundreds of thousands of dollars on interest in your life because you are the bank. I go to bank at Joe Lombardi, my index universal life, anytime I need a big purchase. Like, I just bought my son a Porsche for his 16th birthday. That was awesome as a dad to do. I thought it was freaking cool as hell. So, how did I do that? I bought it in cash from his life insurance policy.
Yeah.
Wait, why does your 16-year-old have life insurance? I got all three of my kids right when they were born. I got them these plans, and they've been compounding and growing double-digit tax-free returns. So when you understand that now my kids are worth more, who've never worked, my kids are worth more than like 95% of Americans, which isn't hard because you have to understand that 60% of Americans are worth less than $1. They're negative. So when you understand that, when you build these habits, you teach these habits, you train these habits, you continuously talk about these habits, it changes your mindset. Like, my son, right, taught me all about Yahusha is Jesus's real name, because J's weren't around 500 years ago. And I'm like, well, I was programmed by the Catholic Church because I'm Catholic and Italian and Irish. It's Jesus. Jesus. Well, it can't. His name seriously, like, can't be Jesus. J's weren't around 2,000 years ago. I started 500 years ago. So my son's like, it's so important to, and he's 16. He reads the Bible every day. He's really into facts. That's all he cares about. He doesn't care about culture. He just cares about facts. And for him to teach me, like, and it took me a while. I'm like, yeah. And then who is he? Yahusha. That's like his real name that they had in the, in the real tablets for when.
And not only that, but it's actually written in your DNA.
Yes.
So,
yep.
So it's also written in your DNA. And, in Proverbs tells us, to avoid debt, what you're saying. In Proverbs 22:7 notes that the borrower is a slave to the lender.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're your own lender, you can only be a slave unto yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Framing debt as a form of financial bondage to be monetized and avoided, or minimized and avoided, not monetized. Sorry. And then saving and planning, Proverbs in 21:20 says, he praises the wise man who saves treasure, supporting emergency funds, and long-term planning and providing for their family. Because, if you're able to do that, you're not going to have to succumb to the government. On one of the last podcasts that I just did, we were talking about Dr. Anthony Fraudchi. I call him Fraudchi because he's such a fraud.
Yeah.
That I can't even think of him as any other way. But, if I remember where Filipinos would take a shot in exchange for a bag of rice.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, what's the value of your bag of rice? How much is a bag of rice right now? $10. Okay, I'll give you $10, to go buy your bag of rice with, so that you can avoid, the plague. Avoid this like the plague, because,
you remember the senators eating cheeseburgers?
Yeah.
Come get your vaccine shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Even comes with fries.
What about the donuts?
The donuts, yeah.
We'll give you donuts. We'll give you, in poorer countries, we'll give you rice. We'll give you donuts. We'll give you whatever, we'll keep.
Just take this experimental drug, please.
Yeah, exactly. And because Psalms 24:1 states that the earth and everything in it belongs to God, and human acts as managers or stewards of his assets. And we just have to claim that. And we have to realize that that's what God says. It's not what I say or what Joe says. That's what the Bible says. And, who's tried to rewrite that and almost rewrite it out so that we don't notice? I mean, that's the crazy thing is we just want to ignore it. Speaking of that, Joe, we've got to cover this, because the tithe, I've got to know your take on the tithe. This could be, I know, a whole episode amongst itself, but your take on the tithe. What is your take on the tithe?
So my take on the tithe is I tithe myself first, then I tithe my wife, then I tithe my 3 children. And then I take care of, as a protector and a provider in my household and my family. My wife hasn't worked for Satan's dollars in 13 years, but she's worked hard raising our 3 children. So I have to take care of 5 humans, so including myself. So my take on it is, until you are tithing yourself, giving to somebody else when you are needy, it's sort of like, when the airplane, you ever been on an airplane, when they tell you, hey, if we lose oxygen, 2 things are going to come down, and I have an 11-year-old daughter who always sits next to me when we fly. And it doesn't say give to her. It says cover yourself, then cover the child. So if you're not taking care of you, who is? So it's not to be selfish. I think critically thinking and being a conservative and conserving your principles, your wealth, your family values is very important. And I will do that before I give to somebody, especially I don't know, who may not share my values, my goals, or care to protect or provide for my family. Now, does that mean we all have to be narcissistic, sociopath, selfish people, only care about ourselves? Absolutely not. Do I give? Yes, I do. Do I tithe? Not to a man-made church. I believe God is here. God went into the church and he kicked it down, and he flew the money that was on the table, and he was like, that's blasphemous what you guys are doing. So to me, I give, but I give with knowledge, time, and energy, which I much rather have wisdom over dollars. I rather know how to fish than be given a fish. Yes. And when you're able to understand the value of self-regulation, self-discipline, which we don't have as a country, let's be completely frank, and that's all by design. Even TikTok, they're getting our attention spans right now, right? Yeah. So when you understand all of this, all comes together. There isn't one singular thing that any human can do to become a multimillionaire besides buying a lottery ticket. That is the winning one.
Yep.
It takes a collaboration of habits.
Even then, the state, you're basically giving the money into the state lottery.
Yeah.
Like, you can make this stuff up. Okay, so Jesus's view in the New Testament says Jesus mentioned tithing in Matthew 23:23, criticizing religious leaders for strictly counting seeds while ignoring that. Keep in mind, this says while ignoring justice, mercy, and faithfulness. So you can give your time to a just cause, to be faithful, versus counting the seeds, because the religious leaders, like Joe said, that are over here, they bought the property in their names many times, where it's not really your church. It's not, they're trying to proclaim ownership for their families. Meanwhile, you couldn't even get them out if you wanted to in some of the churches now. And before the law, in the Old Testament tithing, patriarchs like Abraham and Jacob gave a 1/10 voluntarily as an act of worship of gratitude. So they're really taking, a lot of these pastors are, in my opinion, are taking that Genesis 14:20 and Genesis 28:22 and really trying to milk all that they can out of it. Like the voluntary, you need to voluntarily, give the 10th, because otherwise, under the law of Moses, it became mandatory. The Israelites gave multiple tithes that actually totaled nearly 23% a year to fund the religious and civic needs of the nation. Meanwhile, we just started out the podcast talking about how you're already given 50%.
50. It's actually more.
It's actually more. But I'm saying that's a safe amount.
Yeah.
Okay. By the time you pay your car tag, your property taxes and everything, like you're up to like close to 60%. Joe, what is the amount? You want to correct me on?
So when you look up federal, state, FICA, Medicare, unemployment, Social Security, property, car, tobacco, gas, nicotine, cell phone, house phone, internet, when you add it all up, right, it comes out to almost 70, depending on your income level, of course. If you're, if you're in a lower tax bracket federally, then it would be less than this. But for the ultra wealthy, it's 68% of every dollar that comes in is stolen from you, and that's without giving us health care.
Wow. And then we know that there's
which is sick care. It's not really health care.
Exactly. I mean, it's insane to even think about. I mean, they're really trying to take everything that you've got.
Well, they don't enslave us by race anymore. They don't care what color you are.
Yeah.
Everybody's a slave.
Yes.
I mean, in the Bible, you remember that, or excuse me, in our culture was, women are what? 2/5 of a man. Black people are 1/5 of a man, right?
Yeah.
They do the same thing now. I mean, literally, history repeats, it doesn't repeat, it rhymes. Over. So when you look at it, every single born into slavery, your Social Security number is your slave number. We are owned. We are controlled cattle by the powers that be.
Yeah.
And it's all about fear, manipulation. They masculinize the women. They feminize the men. They don't want us to know what gender we are. That's another way they divide us. It goes so deep. And it's been boiling the frog. This has been, from what my studies have shown, pretty much right before the Federal Reserve Act, and before World War I, somewhere in the ballpark of 1912 to 1930, our country was bought and sold to Europe, and which is now Israel. So we are owned by the powers that be, and if you aren't doing anything to combat the evilness that is happening to you, your spouse, and your children, who is? If you aren't fighting to not give your essence of life, which is what Yahusha has given to us, and you're not protecting that. Your body is your temple, as Christi said. If you're not doing these type of things, who is? And what is the consequence of it? And why is that not a priority? And what do you need to do to make your financial health a priority? Because your spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical health, those are all multipliers to your financial health.
Yep. And we have, we have to realize we have congressmen, even Congressman Byron Donalds, who's running for governor of Florida, who I'm hoping Jay Collins, our current lieutenant governor, can beat in this primary that we have on August the 18th. He's even said, like, the Byron Donalds said that senior citizens are, like, as if they haven't earned and paid into Social Security, as if it's just a privilege that, the government's sending you a check. Like, in other words, like, you're so stupid that you've allowed them to take it. And now he's basically saying, hey, seniors, you're fortunate that, like, we're sending you a check, like, just be grateful that you're getting your Social Security money. Like, in other words, it's such a privilege, and that the government actually doesn't have to do it, because maybe they don't. Speaking of that, Joe, there is a situation where there's a lot of sovereigns saying that you don't have to pay income taxes. And there's actually people that advocate and say that they don't have to pay income taxes. And I'm going to put the interview after this so that people can watch the interview, because I've drawn a blank of the guy's name, but it was a great interview that I did. And he's basically has never paid income taxes. And he's like, we're all idiots for paying income taxes if you've ever even filed a return, because you've actually created a agreement with the government informing them that you owe them. Because, so tell us a little bit about, do you know anything about the sovereign movement, and when it comes to income taxes, what your belief is, and how the financial tools that you have available, do you use any of those particular codes? Do they exist? Are they trouble? What is your take on?
Well, my take is they make it insanely difficult. When I mean the IRS, right? If you don't pay them, it is programmed into us that they're going to come to our house with guns, take you out of your own home, throw you in jail, right? We have seen that or heard that on mainstream media, like with Wesley Snipes and so on and so forth in my life. They always like make somebody example every 5 years. I was actually thinking about that the other day. Is that real? Like, I don't know. If we all just band together and said, we're not paying income tax anymore, there's nothing. They can't arrest 350 million people. So when you understand, like, is there legal ways to not pay taxes on assets? Well, yeah, you have a Roth IRA, you have a municipal bond, and you have 7702 plans. And that is it. That's it. There's only 3 ways in our tax code. If you want to go to court and battle the IRS, that's it. Now, I've heard of sovereign people not even having driver's licenses and not fishing licenses, because if you get a license, you are giving up your rights and saying you have control over this. But then on the flip side, I've seen people get arrested for not having driver's license and fishing license. So it's insanely scary, and that's the fear that they have. That I was talking to my son with this yesterday. I hate the word they. It's so vague. Like, the people in power, is it lizard people? Is it the cabal? Is it, the Illuminati? Is it? And again, if we think we know their names, we don't know their names. They have that much power and money that they wouldn't let us know. They wouldn't identify themselves to us. So they is just the people that run stuff, whether it's the fallen angels, because you look, they say there's these things called, like, asteroids. No, I think those are the fallen angels from heaven when Satan wiped a third of the angels, but we don't have to go down that. rabbit hole. So when you understand, like, it's just vitally important to do what you legally can do, which is open up Roth IRAs, open up municipal bonds, open up 7702 plans, overfund them, get yourself a S corp if you're a business owner. Again, I don't want this to be about business, about individual, but individuals can open up S corps and LLCs. You could pay your kids. I pay all three of my kids. That saves me, 58,000 off of my gross. So there is ways that you can do it. And you have to understand that, again, if you aren't spending your time learning these things and you're spending them watching somebody who doesn't know you throw a pigskin up and down a court or hit a ball with a bat, and Shohei Ohtani's batting average, but you don't know what you're invested in your 401k for your financial future, maybe you might be the problem. Again, may not be your fault that you're the problem, might be your programming, but you have to, I hate the terminology, wake up, but you have to look at it and make changes and be better.
Okay, so type of annuity insurance. So let's just say somebody's got an annuity insurance plan already, a life insurance plan. Should they switch that in any way? Should life insurances always stay with the exact plan that you have? Are there ever better plans? And what about IRAs? We probably have a lot of people out there that have money in IRAs and other forms. What should they do there? Should they call you? Or is every situation different? Can you give a little bit of brief information on that?
So if you have an IRA, depending on your age, depending on what the purpose, your time horizon, your risk tolerance, you should possibly look into, fixed index annuity, assuming you don't need to take the whole thing out tomorrow, which most people don't accumulate for 30, 40 years and then cash the thing out and then have no more money for the next 30 years of their life till they die. So assuming you don't need full liquidity to it, which you shouldn't, because that defeats the purpose of what an IRA is intended for, you should look at fixed index annuities. And if it's something you want to build your own bank, you want to look at 7702 plans, you have an old account and they give you 15% bonuses. These things are averaging 15% a year. The fees are 0 to less than 1%, depending on how much exposure you want to the market. And, you just go to learnwithhawk.com. There's never two plans that are the same. Here at Ironhawk Financial, what we do is we just customize the plan to you. Like I said, I've been doing this 24 years. I have over 4,000 clients, and I've never done the same plan. Not the same amount of insurance, same state, same, investment cap, same strategy, same, annuity company rollover, because we don't work for any companies. We work for our clients. So when you're what's called a master broker, you have access to every single product, company, strategy in your state, and we're in all 50 states. So when you have that luxury, I don't work, as an example, like I used to work at MetLife. I used to sell MetLife Auto, MetLife Home, MetLife Liability, MetLife Health, MetLife Variable Annuities, MetLife Life Insurance, MetLife Disability, MetLife Long-Term Care, and they weren't the best in any of them. Mm-hmm. So I was forced to, because I couldn't sell anything else. I was captive, and you don't, unfortunately, you do not want to work with captive agents, people that have to sell you an inferior product to make a commission and then claim you're getting, a good plan. It's like going to the finest steakhouse in the world or getting a Big Mac. Yeah. Will they both, can you eat them both and solidify your meal for that day? Sure. Is one extremely better than the other from fees, time horizon, liquidity, participation rate, option contracts, riders? Yes, one is insanely better. So you have to understand that when it comes even to what I feel that I'm in, annuities, index universal life, trust, eyelid trust, special needs trust, if your child has autism, estate planning, retirement planning, long-term care planning, you have to understand 90% of annuities are trash. 95% of permanent life insurance policies are trash. What I mean by that, they're high fee, they're illiquid, the loan rate is super high, the returns are capped, their cost of insurance is too high. So if you have a plan, my advice is shop it, because the only way that it's better to stay in an old inferior plan is if your health changed significantly from in the negative way from when you purchased the policy 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago to your health today. Because you have to understand that an annuity, a life insurance plan, a legacy plan, those are intangible assets, but they change like a television set. If I showed you a television set 20 years ago, a phone 20 years ago, and I show you a phone or a television set today, would you say the newer stuff is better? Well, of course, because unlike the government, which is a monopoly, these private companies have competition. They're all fighting for your dollars. So they're creating better add-ons, better riders, long-term care up to $30,000 a month. You know, if you're uninsurable for long-term care, I could take $100,000 and turn it into a guaranteed $306,000 for long-term care. So there's all these different strategies and there's all these different niches within the financial industry. If I just inherited an IRA, well, then this company's better. It's a Roth IRA, that company's better. It's a brokerage, that company's better. I'm looking for growth, that company's better. I'm looking for income, that company's better. So you have to understand that if you're not working with somebody who knows the entire market that has AI, I literally have a software system where I just, 57-year-old male, Florida, 2.8 million net worth, looking for, best legacy plan for his daughter with autism. Enter. It'll be like, bloop, 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 bloop. Usually do an Equitrust, a fixed index annuity and then fund it here and then put this much money here. And it builds, like, they know, like, AI is crazy. I can show you these tools that it blows my mind, which is scary because that means we're going to be replaced probably 5-10 years later after that. But until we are, we have these tools at Ironhawk that I invest a lot of money into, like a lot of money into, that make sure what we're doing is suitable. That's why I could say I've never had a complaint in 24 years, never lost a client $1 in 24 years, never charged a client $1 in 24 years. Because the strategies I use incorporate investments with insurance, and we mirror them inside of a strategy. So I don't sell products to people. That's why everything is just different. It's coming up with a strategy based on your time horizon, your risk tolerance, when you want to retire. Do you want to leave a legacy? Do you have long-term care? Do you have any wills? Are you worth more than $7 million? Are you going to have an estate tax issue? These are the things that the average person just doesn't know. And then when they want to know, they have to start dishing out tens of thousands of dollars to estate planning attorneys, accountants, CPAs. With me, it's free. I've been in those rooms with them. So it's one of those things where reach out, learnwithhawk.com. It's absolutely free. Even if you just want the information, I send my books, articles, magazines, website, webinars, my podcast. I send everything out to get this information out, because I guarantee what you're doing is you're doing the right thing. You're just doing it the wrong way.
Well, we're going to have you a page on Patriots Perspective where people can go get your books. They can download those books. They can visit your website. It basically is an entire resource page so that they know everywhere to go, what to do to get those books, connect with you directly. And guys, if you are wanting to book an appointment with Joe, just make sure you tell him you heard about it here. Just so he knows like where his time is most valuable, so he can come back and give us more free information. Joe, I really appreciate all that. I appreciate our first conversation and look forward to many more, because you've got the business world that we haven't covered and so much more information. And I want to thank Terry for connecting us at Patriot Connection. So thank you so much, Terry. She's always amazing to bring me great guests and, that are very informed, to inform our audience through evergreen material. Listen, go back and listen to our prior episodes, from anything from healthcare, which you may have to go to Rumble for things such as that, because YouTube sometimes will not allow us to speak freely, but we love you, YouTube. YouTube is amazing. because this is going to stay and live on YouTube. So, but make sure that you do follow us in both locations, and make sure that you follow us at patriotsperspective.com. And Joe, we will look forward to seeing you back. Any last words for our audience?
Find a way. If you have trauma, if you have hatred, if you have doubt, anxiety, depression, find a way to live in the present. And it is a present from God. And if you don't have a relationship with Yahusha, please get one. And understand that you are not alone. People care about you, and you're worth it. So you're worth being rich if that's what you choose to do. You're worth being fit if that's what you choose to do. And, your happiness is valuable, because what else are we here for than to help people, treat thy neighbor as thyself, treat thyself as thy neighbor. Reach out. Learnwithhawk.com. It's free. We have a whole team, they'll walk you through the whole process. Doesn't cost you anything. And God bless you, Christi. God bless, everybody listening, and know that you're worth a lot more than even you think you are. And, again, I'm excited for the opportunity, Christi. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe. And just stay in the green room, and I'll be right with you. Okay, everybody. Please make sure that you go and subscribe to Joe's site. Make sure you're still subscribed to patriotsperspective.com. We've made some website updates. I want to make sure that you are still subscribed there. Make sure that you hit the like button so that we can continue to bring you amazing information. And I'm not sure what keeps happening to me, but here I am back. But thank you so much for tuning in. And please make sure that you share this with your circle of people, because you have more influence than you think. And even if you can just help one other person today, that would be a great blessing to them. And I just want to say to the audience, God bless you. We are going to be back doing more frequent shows throughout the rest of the year. So again, make sure that we are going to be bringing you candidates and what they think, along with business people like Joe, that can help you get your life in order. And direct you back to where we belong, which is in the arms of our Creator. And remember to treat everybody as you would like to be treated yourself. And God bless you, everybody. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Remember, take action. Take action. Don't let big tech win. Share this video with a friend now. Most importantly, do unto others as you would have others do unto you.